lucky to get to talk to amazing creatives that I'm about to introduce. So without further ado, let me please introduce this wonderful panel tonight. Let's begin with Visual Effects Supervisor, Marcus Terramina. Editor, Jody Dorn. Writers and executive producers, Shay Hatton and Kurt Johnstead. Producer, Wesley Collar. Producer, Deb Snyder. And your director, writer, producer, and DP, Zack Snyder.
Look at this fruit.
We're overhydrated, we got lots of water.
It's impossible.
Mr. Snyder, do you ever consider not doing all the jobs?
It wasn't really like a decision. You don't go like, oh, you know, I'm going to do all the jobs. That's what I want to do. It didn't really happen. It doesn't happen that way. You know, because as far as the big weird job that I did, I mean, in Hollywood was I was the cinematographer, right? That's the weird job that I shouldn't have done, that they would say I shouldn't do, people would say I shouldn't do. Because when I did Dawn of the Dead, I remember I had, thank you, I had been working in the commercial world, and in the commercial world I was a director cameraman, which is basically a director DP. And so when I got that job, they said, look, you know, in movies, you know, you can't do two jobs. So you're doing one job, and we're gonna have to hire you a DP. And I was like, okay, what do I know? I don't know anything about this, it's fine. But Matt Leonetti, who was the DP of that movie, who's amazing, he's a great guy, he was incredibly generous with me and incredibly, he knew that he would, because like, we would do setups and he would see that I was impatient and freaking out. And so he'd go like, you know, Zach, why don't you go over there and shoot a shot or something, you know? Make yourself busy over there. Go shoot some close-ups of those keys or whatever. So I had this a second unit, and we had like this Inavision lenses, which were these kind of weirdo, super close-ups. So if you've ever seen the movie, there are these like crazy giant close-ups of guns and weird. Those are all the shots I did when I was in between setups. When he would say like, get out of here and go shoot something while we make the movie over here. And then I would come back and I'd be like, can we film now? And he'd be like, yes, it's ready. And I'd be like, okay, good. And so, cut to Army of the Dead. So we had finished Justice League, and you know, suffice it to say, well, yes, but suffice it to say, I was a little bit gun shy. Maybe that's the way of putting it. So as far as like, just like what I recognized on Justice League is that the big got the sort of further away you as a director were from the movie. So like you're in a giant movie, and over there, the actors are over there somewhere, and you're in a tent or at a table, and you have like all these monitors, and you're just kind of sitting there, you know. Looks great, guys. It's kind of that. But then what happened was when we were getting ready to like, when I was thinking about making Army, I was like, you know what? I really want to just be the DP of Army, because I just feel like I need to get back and like just get a hold of these fuckers and like, you know, make a movie. And so that was kind of the evolution. And then like when we made Army, it was like really an amazing experience. I felt really close to everything and everyone, and it was really amazing. And then, so we just carried it on to this. So that was the weird, sorry, the fucking longest answer ever. I apologize.
We can take a tour.
Jesus Christ, shut up, Snyder. Anyway, so that's the weird job. The otherwise, like with Kurt and Shay, you know, that's like a normal, like we have fun writing a movie and it's really cool. And then like, okay, go make that movie. So that's like kind of normal Hollywood stuff. And then like producer, I'm in a producer, yes, because I'm doing the movie, but you know, I have Debbie and Wes, so like I know it's you know, they're not gonna like, the bottom's not gonna fall out of it, right? Because these guys are awesome, so that's gonna work.
Yeah. Well,
it's true. Thank God.
Zeroing back in on this wonderful chapter we all just watched. This could be for every everyone, can you kind of talk to us about, because this is a unique situation in that 2 films were filmed at the same time, can you talk about kind of if you guys were on it for the whole time? When did you guys come in? When did all your jobs start? Did they end? Did you have a break between 1 and 2? Can you just briefly
Yeah, no,
talk
all
about
these
that?
people right here, everyone here was on the move, had been like basically hanging out with us for about the last 5 years, I think, maybe longer.
It's coming
Right,
about,
when did Army start?
It's coming about 3 years. It's like
For this movie.
3 years.
But but starting with Army, because you didn't really have a break between this and Army, not that big of a break.
It's 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, so it's like, you know, so
Okay.
they were always, we were
For
talking
me,
about
it's
it.
been 15 years.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, yes.
Maybe
Some people more
actually
than others.
20, maybe 20 years, because this idea has been kicking around for so long, and it was a germ of an idea, and then Zach and Kurt would talk about some things, and then it was a video game at one point, and it was a television series at one point, and then I think we had a conversation, and I said, it should be a movie. This is what we do. Like, let's make this into a movie. And then we started developing it into a movie. But it was always something, the idea that Zach and I, listen, when you're a producer, director, husband and wife, like, you're always talking about the things you're passionate about, the movies you're making, the projects you want to make. So we had been talking about it for years and years and years. And then to actually have the idea, to have a studio willing to make something of this scale with an original IP and original characters is really kind of unheard of today, because everything is sequels, prequels, it's a game, it's a this, it's a that. It was quite a gamble for them, and we are so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to be able to make it, and then to make 2 of them at the same time. That's actually unheard of too.
Right. So can you guys kind of walk us through, producer, I guess, great group up here. Producer, writer, editor, the VFX team, can you talk about kind of when, like for part 2, I'm just curious, what things were you excited to dig into on the second chapter? Obviously you filmed it all at the same time, but was there some sequence that you were excited to get to?
Well, Dodie, I mean, I think that because we shot the whole thing at the same time, and Dodie was cutting all along, we would have basically, the movie was kind of happening. I don't know, was there any, I mean, I guess, Dodie, talk about a little bit, like, one of the sequences, and then I'll let her talk about it, I'm sorry. One of the sequences is like, I think we showed the crew, like near the end of the movie, we showed the crew the scene where Sam gives the banners to everybody, and the harvest, and I think it was harvest?
It was when we were shooting.
Yeah, we were still shooting.
Middle of shooting, yeah, about 2/3 of the way through.
Yes.
Like a sizzle reel, we call it the silver bullet.
Yeah, silver bullet to like make everybody get psyched up because it was a long shoot and they were all ready to probably quit or whatever. So we were like, look at how cool this was. And so I remember like we sat and talked about, and so that was still 2022. We're cutting scenes for the harvest, and so that's right. I mean,
We just cut. I mean, I cut everything as quickly as soon as it was shot. I would cut it, and I something I do with Zach that I don't do with every director is I send him the roughest version of the scene. Meaning, the next morning he'll get a cut, and he might still be working on that scene, and he'll see storyboards and shots missing, and it might inform your work that day. I presume it does.
yeah, I love it. It's amazing. It's also cool and weirdly inspiring to, like, you drew something, at some point in the past, and with Kurt and Shay, we had written this cool sort of script, and then as you're shooting it, like say I'm in the car on the way into work, and I'm looking at the scene kind of come together with and everyone, doing their amazing acting and amazing stunt work and production design and all the things. And it's just really, it's incredibly, that's when I see it, you know what I mean? It's weird because people are always like, when you watch the movie, maybe I see it then, and then I see it, like I watched Watchmen, literally it was on HBO, I think it was it's on now, but I watched it maybe 4 or 5 days ago. I was just laying in bed and it was on and I watched it. And it's weird, for me, that's the other time I watch it, 10 years later, you know? Those are the weird, that's and for you guys it's different, you get to see it kind of in a single shot. Where I kind of it's pieced out to me in this weird way.
You guys are you're living with it differently.
Yeah.
Dodie, I have to just backtrack. Does that mean you're working vampire hours when they're shooting? And you're cutting overnight?
Maybe a little. As soon as I get the material, I'll cut it. But I wanted to speak to what you said about Zack doing all the jobs. Of course, he did do a couple more jobs, like drawing all of the storyboards for the entire movie. I get in the editing room and I cut together long before they start shooting. I build the whole movie with the storyboards, and it really helps me in the cutting because the script supervisor has them all numbered, so all the shots come in, and we're building from his storyboards. So it's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Also, I want to say that, I don't know, Jared, are you here? Yeah, so very good friend of mine and longtime collaborator, Jared Parrington, amazing artist. Really, to call him a storyboard artist is rude, I think. I doodle,
No disrespect to storyboard.
No, by the way, absolutely, because that's what I kind of I would say. But so what Jared would do for me a lot of times, because when I ask him to draw the sequence, he'd be like, okay, fine, I'll draw a sequence for you. I don't want to. I want to draw these cool paintings, is what he does. So I'll say it would really be cool if I really want to get excited about this scene, and we'll talk about it, and then Jared will knock a painting up that is fucking crazy, and then I'm like, okay, I want to make a movie now. And so I think he's back there, and he's a genius, and thank you, Jared.
And all the storyboards, as well as the paintings, really inform what Marcus does, because a lot of times, if things aren't thought out in pre-production, it costs a lot, there's a lot of stuff thrown out. So I know, Marcus, can you talk a little bit about how this process affects you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, I never asked you, Zach, because it's I'm rushing to get the storyboards out of the cut, right? Because it's just a piece of paper, digitized, and I'm just I gotta get something in there for Zach.
Rude.
Get something in for Zach. No, but that's what I'm getting at. It's it's a little sad to see those go, probably, for you, but also...
No, it's not sad at all.
But yeah, I think a lot of the artwork...
When Jared's trying to go out, it's sad, but when mine go out, it's fine.
But even Jared's artwork too, really early on, we put that sizzle together. I looked at some of those for this movie, for both movies, but for this movie, I'm like, man, we're gonna have a lot of work ahead of us. Okay, that's our key art in this moment right now. How can I make this shot feel like that? And some of the shots in here are almost one-to-one matches, the dreadnought crashing, that's my eye on the prize. I gotta make it look like that. I gotta make it feel like that. Taking that one piece of art still frame and putting it in motion is super important. And, you're very, very vocal along the way with, I want this is important in this board, this is important in the sequence, so it's...
Yeah, the one shot also of the gunner getting shot in the head in profile. Oh, that's not in this cut, sorry.
I knew he was gonna do that. We're gonna
I'm
talk
sorry,
about
anyway, it's cool.
I knew that was gonna
Some other cool shots.
It's a really good shot. It's gonna be great.
Don't worry, I have a question. We're coming back to that.
It's fine.
We won't leave it.
It's not going anywhere.
But by the way, the storyboards really inform all the other departments, and it's really interesting because the people on our crew that have done multiple movies with Zack really realize that they're literally the shot. down to the lensing, down to if there's a ladder in this. And sometimes the newer people, we would have these storyboard meetings, and they'd be like, oh, okay, and they didn't realize, they would think like, oh, it's the words in the script, but it's like the boards come from the script and then inform more. And we'd show up on set and maybe that ladder wouldn't be there, and Zach's like, well, the ladder is right here, and they were like, oh, we didn't know that, like, you really meant that. And then people catch on, oh, it's exactly how it is. And it's really interesting. I think some of the making of books show a comparison of the drawings, sometimes the previs, and then the actual shot. And it's so amazing to me how accurate it is when you look at them in comparison.
Yes, thank you, by the way, for doing that, because it's a dream to be. Yes, it's Zach. Thank you for doing that.
Well, it's not, it's, you know, I really wish, when we were doing Sucker Punch, I remember, thank you, I remember the production staff saying, you know, who was it? Who said it to me? Well, I forget, one of the production, like, old-timers was like, one day you're gonna, like, not draw these drawings and you'll be able to just, like, you know, just make it up. I'm like, well, I can make it up, but like, I just thought the drawings were helpful. But like, I can't, it's funny, because like, the more, like when you try not to do the drawings, you just, it's one time, really what it is just a chance to make the movie one time first. So you like kind of do the movie, you think about it as if you were shooting, you're like, oh, camera can be here, and the door's over there, so they'll come through, and then we'll be on this side. And then you do that work so that on the day, you already have done it once, it's like a rehearsal, then you can kind of do it quicker or better, or I don't know, whatever. But the truth is, it's really just as a tool, it's nothing more than that, and it helps, it just helps me make the movie. And I think that if there's young filmmakers out there, you're gonna have your own thing that maybe isn't storyboards that helps you, but I do suggest that you find a tool that allows you to sort of visualize the film before you make it, because when you get on set, having to be one beat ahead of everybody is important, because there's going to be a million questions and a million things you need to figure out, and that step does give you a leg up on everybody, so and that's important.
Especially because you draw the edit, as opposed to just making a shot list and having, you know, I need this wide, this medium, this close. I think for all of us, it's incredibly helpful to see exactly how you envision each beat of the scene playing out. I think for us as producers or as a, you know, production designer, it tells us the way you framed everything. You're so specific and so consistent, sticking with what you've drawn most of the time, that we can be very strategic in what we build and what we don't build. And I think just with an undertaking of this scale, the amount of information and your ability to convey it, I think is incredibly helpful to the process. And I think it also, your willingness to empower department heads in a way that I think, you know, gets the best out of all of you is just amazing. I think as a team, and I think it's why, you know, all of us have worked together for so long, is because it becomes a creative family that really is all working in tandem for the same goal.
Yeah, this group is very chatty and collaborative backstage also. I really been wondered, between when the release of part 1 and this one, you were probably still finishing part 2, did anything in the reception and reaction from audiences to the part 1, did you guys tweak anything or modify anything in between after seeing reactions, or was all?
It was locked.
As you planned? Okay, it was locked. Got it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting process because, you know, I think that movie 1 and this movie as well, you know, there's really a lot of goals we had for the movie. You know, there's a lot of, you know, beyond the story, there's a rating, there's sort of like how long you want the movie to be, you know, and those things are really kind of specific, you know, and I feel like they make the sort of wider viewing of the movie easier. And that's really what we wanted the experience to be, for a really broad audience to have a really great time and really enjoy the film in the easiest digestible way. And I think that was, I really am excited and proud of the movie in that way, and this movie as well. It's just very, the two movies flow together, and they're very consistent, and they're super fun, and audiences, I think, have responded to the movies in a really positive way.
Yeah.
So that in that way, I'm super excited about and happy. Couldn't be happier with these two films as companions.
Yeah, let's dig into this one a little bit. Can we, not to pick a favorite children out of scenes or sequences, but for all of you, is there one sequence here that you're particularly proud of, or you loved watching everyone else do? Is there something like that, especially for our writers?
Yeah, writers, go curtain shake, please.
I mean, my favorite sequence in the movie is when they're all sitting around before the battle and kind of sharing all their stories, and I can say that because Kurt wrote that sequence, not me. So I can just compliment it as a fan. Like, I read it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Now I see it in the movie and I'm like, this is great. It has nothing to do with me. I just think it's like a really beautiful piece of writing to kind of inform all these characters. And I think that really is a lot of what we're trying to do, especially the battle in this movie, was really find the moments to dig into all the characters in kind of a deeper, more emotional way. And yeah, I'm happy that we got the space to kind of do that. And I think by this being its own movie, it lets us have those moments to breathe, versus if we crammed it all into one movie, you might not have the chance to kind of find those moments.
Yeah, I love the backstories. How about you guys? So much more. Kurt, how about you?
Yeah, I would say, well, I'm going to just throw this one right back at Shay. Nemesis's death scene. He wrote that scene and it broke my heart. But I mean, when the little boy goes up to her, and I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And Corin, the gunner scene at the end, I just like the emotional engine really works for those characters. You just feel for them. So it's good. Yeah, those two scenes, I really love them. Yeah.
For Deb and Wes, were there massive things you saw in pre-production, like, oh gosh, I wonder how we're going to be able to do that, and then now seeing it finished? Are there big set pieces like that that are super satisfying, especially in this one, being more of the war movie, as it were?
The wheat was really
Hey, I know about this wheat.
I mean, the wheat was so difficult for production because we were growing in soil that wasn't really
You have to tell them. You guys
a
know
great,
this. All that wheat they grew.
10 football fields of wheat we planted, and it was a really cold spring, and we had consulted with farmers, and they were like, okay, the wheat's gonna be ready, because we had different stages of the wheat, right? We saw it growing. We had to hit these marks, and we had to shoot other things while we were waiting for the wheat to grow, but the wheat did not grow, and we had to push the shoot 5 weeks and figure out other things to shoot, but you can't build all the sets at the same time, so you're building certain sets, and we had to scramble, and it was really challenging, and then the animals started eating the wheat, and it was like one thing after another. So after we shot,
they would say, oh god, you know what, there's really bad news, and I was like, what's wrong? And they're like, well, these rodents are coming at night and they're eating all the wheat, and it's like a huge problem. And we're like, what do you mean? Can we stop them? They're like, we can't find, we don't know where they are. They're like, these like magical rodents that come out of the darkness and just start eating the wheat. And so we were, I was just like, really? Like, this is the thing we have to figure out now? It's like how to stop these rodents from eating our wheat before. I like really feel like, it's like Debbie sounded like a farmer too. She's like, it was a cold spring. It's like this.
Okay,
this cool
we
thing.
had a box of wheat at our house that we had a measuring stick, and we were seeing how far it would grow, and I go, well, I feel like you're giving this wheat a lot more love than the wheat in the field, so maybe it's
I
gonna
was,
grow
by the way.
sooner.
I had this big box of wheat at the house, in the front of the house, and I had like a yardstick, and I would water it, and I'd be like, the wheat's looking amazing! And I go, how's the wheat up at the location? Because my wheat's amazing. And they'd be like, no, the rodents are getting it. And I was like, oh god. I'm like, I don't have any rodents here, so it's...
By the way, when we finally got to shooting it, I think everyone took a deep breath, except there was rattlesnakes then that were in the wheat. So we had 3 rattlesnake wranglers that had to go through the wheat before it was safe to put actors or our camera crew in the wheat.
Or Zach.
Or Zach, yeah.
Almost got one.
So it was the wheat was a struggle, so I hope you enjoyed
But it was
seeing
super
how
fun.
beautiful
By the
it was.
way, it was so fun to shoot all those wheat harvesting sequences. I think the first cut we had of the wheat was like 40 minutes, wasn't it? 40 minutes. 40 minutes of just harvesting.
Big question, what happened to the wheat? What happened afterwards?
Well, we fed it to the cows. It got, yeah,
We made some beer out of it too.
some beer, yeah.
Yes.
Rebelmoon beer.
Another
Which
thing
is all gone.
that is fun, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You speak of your cast who also kind of learned how to harvest for film and do all that kind of stuff. We do have a cast member here tonight.
Elise, what? Where is she?
Not to put you on the spot. There she is.
Put her on the spot. Yes. By the way, an amazing harvester. Come on, you know you were.
But I feel like
Yes, I will embarrass you.
we get a little more action with each of the cast members in this film, and we could absolutely talk about Elise and her abilities, but I would love to kind of talk about your cast and the kind of leveling up they do in part 2, at least from my perspective.
Well, it's a lot of fighting. I mean, it's a lot of like real fighting. Elise, for instance, has that amazing sequence where she comes out of the water, she blows up the mechanized tank thing, and then she's out there by herself fighting all those guys in that sort of weird crater. And I remember we were filming it, and I was like filming her and basically like falling all over the place because they were like all the dead bodies of the soldiers would like roll under my feet, and so I'd have to like jump over them and then like still try and find her. But it was great. And then there's that shot where after you fire the rocket launcher and the thing blows up, where I was chasing you down and we both sort of tumbled into that thing and fell on top of each other. I don't know if you remember that, but
That'll be in the BTS.
it was pretty crazy. So yes, there was a lot of leveling up of a lot of dirt in our ears, as I recall.
I think emotionally, there's a lot of leveling up in terms of the heavy lifting that's done into the performances. In my opinion, are great across both films, but I think that the stories of redemption, the stakes get higher as we get deeper into the second movie there, and I'm always blown away each time we watch it with just how invested I am in those characters and those arcs, and we couldn't have been more lucky to have the group of actors that we did that not only delivered on screen, but also we had a lot of fun shooting the movie. You know, it was a long shoot, and
it was
a long
hard.
day.
It was
It
hot.
hard, and everybody showed up and just worked together and worked really hard to accomplish something that we're super proud of.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love to talk about fight sequences because I think fight choreography is awesome to watch. You all do collectively. You do a really good job with it. And I think with talking to Dodie and Marcus, can you talk a little bit about the epicness of some of the fight sequences and how you like your part in what you love to shape those and how you kind of enhance the performances?
Well, one thing I did want to say that for editors, the sentence we don't want to hear is fix it in post. And Zack fixes it in prep. And that's what I was saying about there's something he calls stunt viz, where his stunt team videos themselves doing all the stunts. It's blocked out very, very carefully. They cut the sequence together and he gives feedback and notes on that, and they keep tweaking that action for months actually before shooting even starts, and that totally informs the edit of those really complicated sequences. Plus, he puts the actors through very, very rigorous training, so they're doing. I mean, the scene on the sliding platform is mostly Cora and Noble, the actual, Sophia and Ed, doing their own stunt work. So it's very rare that a stuntee takes over. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the cool thing, and yes, awesome. And by the way, the amazing thing is that our stunt team is they have to die all around them. Dying, being the actor that gets all these stunties that get killed are as important because they have to they're amazing, of course, the actors are amazing, they're thinking about a million things, and they have to kill all these guys. So maybe this guy, they kill him awesome, and the guy over here, they kind of don't get fully around to get the second guy, but this guy sells so well that they're able to actually move through to the third guy that they can get again. So thank God for and also the stunt performers know the choreography. So in the rehearsal for the cameras and everything, the double would do the fighting and then really be able to work with the actors to say like, okay, so it's this guy and it's this guy. Remember we talked about, and then really kind of help shape what they're going to do when the cameras roll on them. Because I do favor actor action only because I tend to like to shoot kind of closer and a little bit wider, and so it ends up, it's difficult to cover with a double just because the camera's like, like that. And so you end up having to, there's just no way around it. And early in my career, I just found that I was sort of asking the actors to do it, and without really considering whether or not that was a thing that I should be doing. And it's worked out over the course of the movies that I've really had a huge amount of luck with amazingly talented athlete actors that have done incredible, amazing. There's this one shot in Sucker Punch where Abby Cornish has like this long fight scene down this trench where she's killing these like World War I sort of steampunk zombie Nazis, and she's fighting her way all the way to the end of the take, and at the very end of the take she has to do this mag change, and I was like, it's really tricky because if she fucks up the mag change, the whole shot is like screwed because then we have to do it again. And I remember her just like thumbing the mag and like slamming the mag back in and racking it and going. And I was just like, you are an animal, like this is like so awesome. And I think that experience for me has been just sort of duplicated over and over by all these amazing, whether it be Djimon on the bridge, Sophia like blew my mind every day. She's beyond. And I've been so blessed, and I really couldn't be more grateful to these amazing actors for what they did.
For Marcus, can you point to something? I assume we're all going to watch this again, yeah?
Well, remember the TV that you're going to have set up. So
April 19th.
There's going to be that. You're just going to be able to refer to it. Like if I call you, you'll be like, oh, hang on. Oh, it's the part where Noble's getting his... Right, yeah, hang on. Yeah, no, he's getting killed right now.
Well,
Okay, good.
What I want maybe all of you to do too, is starting with Marcus, is there something you would love to kind of point to that when we see it again in some of your amazing work?
Look for something.
Yeah, to like keep our eyes out. That's something you're really proud of, and how the effects turned out, or something that maybe looks easy was really challenging. Because I think some of you are VFX artists, I'm sure, in here, but I have such an appreciation for it. But I know all the hours of. I'm gonna point to something.
One of the favorite sequences is actually when Cora and Noble are on the falling dreadnought all the way through the interior, because that was probably half the size of the stage, and it was just all we did was just level it up 30 degrees, 45 degrees. So we maximized that throughout that entire sequence. It's just very small action. It's great action.
Yeah, we kept sliding on the same piece
They'd have to
over and over.
Back up, slide back down, back up. So that one I'm pretty proud of, and of course all the artists around the world that worked on it. It's a fantastic sequence. But I think the whole final battle, it's about 45 minutes of continuous action, and all those parallel montages, like going back to what we were talking about earlier. You get the great performances, our stunt team amazing, you get the great action from everybody. I gotta fill in the gaps later on. So my job is to basically, when I don't have to worry about the performances and they're just there, then I just gotta make it visually pleasing. So the final battle was one that was tough because there were so many elements and so many montages that we had to keep interesting visually. So, I mean, that whole little snippet of 45 minutes is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that little.
Just that.
I would say just that 45 minutes, really, if you're gonna boil
Yeah,
it. If you're gonna boil it down.
non-answer for sure.
If you only watch one part, just that 45 minutes, really.
This 45-minute chunk.
That's cool. That's like a really small thing to check
We
out.
mentioned some director's cuts, right? Some things that didn't make these two piece of parts 1 and 2. I'm just wondering, you know, what can we? I knew that princess was alive, by the way. I knew she was not going to be dead. Can you tee up some?
Well, go ahead, baby. What were you gonna say?
I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
We are working on them now, right? So yesterday we had the mix for part 1, the director's cut. And I hadn't seen it in a long time because we've been working on, you know, you're working on pieces of things and we have to deliver these movies. So it's like I saw the cut in the fall, and then visual effects has been working on all the effects and everything. And it just struck me that, like, tonally it's a very different movie. And I think the takeaway, it's just more.
Yeah, we like to think about it like it's the alternate universe of Rebel Moon. It's like a whole, it's like a different sort of, the jumping off point is completely different. And so you sort of enter the movie from a totally different place, and it really paints, and every scene after that is different because of what you saw.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, there's a lot of additional footage, right? Because it's an hour of additional footage. And
Just in movie 1.
and by the way,
And then another hour in movie 2.
I have to give Netflix so much credit because they knew that you guys all look for Zack's cut. They know that Zack is known for his cuts, right? And they were like, we don't just want it to be deleted scenes, and we don't want you to be mad at the PG-13, and like, so let's plan this and let's do it right, and we can have a cut that my kids can see, and a cut that is
That your kids can't
really
see.
great, and then you do what you do, and that support was, we've never done this before, and it was really, you know, incredible. But it is true when watching it yesterday, and you see there's like some like this crazy scene, and then the scene after it, even though it's the same scene, just takes on a slightly different tone, just in general.
And I will say also, I mean, just as a, you know, as a little piece of the details of that cut are so crazy, because even in scenes that are exactly the same in the PG-13 version as they are, in some of the scenes, the same line that is delivered in the R-rated version as opposed to the PG-13 is a different take than it is in PG-13. So like, even though it's the exact same words, the performance is slightly different. And so we really were in the weeds that deep, where we were like, in the alternative universe, this is the correct take for this movie, as opposed to the PG-13 version where that take is the correct take. So I think that's how insane we have gotten with it. And it's really exciting. And you know, it's just cool to like, and Netflix is an incredible partner, and they've been amazing in shepherding these movies, and then they've been amazing with the director's cuts to go like, okay, well, let us see them when they're done, and that'd be awesome, you know, because it's a different experience, you know, like to just say, they don't even, like I showed them the movie, and they're like, we didn't even know what was in this, we didn't, like, it could have been anything, because that's how, like, you know, they were incredible partners with this, where like I really relied on them and wanted their like input and their, you know, understanding of the market and understanding of what, you know, a broad audience would appreciate and love, and we really worked together to make movies. And this movie and movie 1, and then also they were incredibly gracious with giving me a lot of space with the director's cut, so it was really cool.
All right, well, just to recap, that's 6 hours. Director's cuts, just to review that.
And also released at the same time, so you can see them all together.
Yeah, we come out on the same day, so it'll be like a double with cheese.
So excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be
We're coming up on our time, but we didn't even scratch the surface of what we talked about with this movie, but you guys are so great at talking about it. Closing thoughts, something you want to highlight that we didn't highlight. Again, something on a rewatch.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll highlight something, which is the cool thing to me and the impressive thing to me is it's hard enough to make one movie. And it's hard enough to, of course, it's twice as hard to make 2 movies. But Zack had 4 movies in his head at once. So, I mean, just from a directorial kind of management aspect, and then everybody filling in behind him, from producers to every department head, you know, we're making 4 movies, which is a crazy thing. I mean, to keep track of all that stuff, I'm giving you your flowers. I am really, impressed with that.
Well, I'll say it would be impossible, obviously, without this amazing team. And also, because that's the thing, I mean, really, it's important to realize that it actually is 4 movies. It's not, that's when I say, like, the director's cuts are the alternate universe version, because they really are different movies. And so, it's not just like, oh, whack that's, like, put a couple of those shots in, and now it's the director's cut. It's not like that at all. It's like a whole thing, and everyone's exhausted by it, which is good. You can tell, if you just look at them, they're all like shaking their heads, and I'm like, yeah, it really fucking is 2 other things, you know? No one told us, you know? They're like, oh, it's gonna be a little longer. A little fucking longer, it's a whole other thing. So anyway, without the dedication and incredible, even like with the actors, they've had to come in because they're like these whole new scenes, and tons of like ADR, tons of extra work that, you know, normally when the movie's out, you're like, okay, the movie's done, I'm done with the movie. No, wait, not quite yet. There's another movie that we have. So it's really exciting, and again, thanks to Netflix for the amazing support. It's incredible.
And by the way, thank you to you guys. I mean, we have felt so much love through the years, and through good times and through really hard times. The fans have always been there for us, and it really does mean something, and we are touched so much by your stories and just how you've embraced and supported us, and it really, we realize that, and we do not take it for granted. So thanks for coming out tonight. Watch the movie again on Netflix, and I've been told that it's important to give it 2 thumbs up, so do that, and then go watch movie 1 again.
Yeah, apparently the computer loves that, so.
The algorithm.
Yeah, you gotta,
one thing I wanted to just
Hal will
add-
kick your ass if you don't like.
Zack's team, Zack and Deb have an amazing creative team. They've tons of people that have worked with them for years, so they hire the best. Your prop master is one of my favorite people in the world. I don't think prop masters get enough love.
Yeah.
As you all know.
I mean, I'm a bit of a prop whore too, so. Yeah.
Brad Elliott, one of the best people in the world, also
Yeah, Brad's
a prop
hilarious.
master. Is there one of his creations that's your
Yeah,
favorite?
let's see, my favorite thing in the movie, prop-wise, favorite prop, well, Cora's gun is pretty, I do like the Imperium assault rifles, which we had about 5 variants of, that were designed by us and by Brad, and then manufactured by Weta Workshop, and then sent over to us. Weta Workshop also manufactured the Beetlejuice chairs. We call them the Beetlejuice chairs. You know those chairs that grab the people? Because you know, like in Beetlejuice, that chair that grabs. Similar. We realized that after. I was like, you know, that looks like the chair from Beetlejuice. You know, the chair. So anyways, they built the Beetlejuice chairs too, and they're incredible. But of course, with him managing them, and also Noble's bone staff is really like, I have one in my office, and it's really got this insane. So like the mythology is basically that the ancient Issa, the original Issa, there's been 3 incarnations of Issa. The original Issa was born during a time of upheaval, and to escape this conflict, she was taken across the desert on this creature called a Lochnar, and the Lochnar, that is the femur of the Lochnar that died carrying Issa to safety. Even though that's not the original one, that's the attention to detail Brad was able to put in, if you look really closely at the prop, in the sort of where the sort of femur would meet the hip joint in the kind of the what do you call it? The nubby ball socket, yeah, the ball joint part of it. There's a little window cut out, and in it is a little shard of bone, as if all they had left over from the original, Lochnar piece of bone was that little piece, and they were able to put it in like a relic, into that little window. So I really thought, and then right in an Imperium written all around it is this thing like preserver of Issa, blah 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 blah, some kind of cool, bullshit. That's
Some of the costumes are outside. As you guys leave, there are some of those.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Is there a bone snap out there? Take a look at it.
Yeah.
Might be there.